Okay guys, I'm going to talk today about color mixing, and I'm going to try to make this a short video. I could literally talk about this for 45 minutes, but I'm going to try to keep it short for you. So the first thing you need to know is that you need clean water and dirty water. If you are on site, you will have one of these. This is dirty water. This is clean water. If you are off site, if you are virtual, you need 2 cups or bowls or mugs or whatever it is that you have at home. Again, one for dirty water and one for clean water. So the reason you want to have that, so let's say you have a paintbrush and you've got red paint on it. If you just have 1 cup of water, after 1 use, your water becomes contaminated. And now you're not really getting your brush clean anymore. You're getting some of the paint off, but not so much. So your water gets contaminated. So what you want to do is you want to clean first in the dirty water. And you can even see the water running off my brush is still kind of pinkish. Then you want to kind of dry it off, get most of the dirty water off, and then clean it in the clean water. And then you can go back in again with another color paint. You do want to use a relatively dry brush for tempera paint. It does not need to have added water. Don't add water to your tempera. So you don't want to go in with like a sopping wet paintbrush. You do want to dry it off a little bit. Okay, so I'm gonna get my palette set up here with some colors, the same colors that you're gonna be using. And to do that, I use my clean brush that I just cleaned, and I just scoop out a little bit of whatever colors I'm using that day. If you know that you're not gonna use any blue that day, don't get any blue out. I'm going to use all of them today, though. So I'm going to get all of them out. I also like to, if I have kind of just some extra paint on my brush, clean it off on the paper towel just to keep your water from getting as dirty. Okay, so you can see how dirty the dirty water is, and the clean water has stayed relatively clean, and that's only after setting up my palette. This is how dirty my water is. So as you continue to paint, it's just gonna get worse and worse. At some point, if you need to dump out your dirty water and get new water in there, that's fine, you can do that. Okay, so a few tips that I want to show you, and I'm gonna switch to a smaller brush, switch to a really small brush for this, that I want to talk about to keep you from doing way more work than you need to, and also to keep you from wasting paint. So, certain colors are just more overwhelming than other colors. Particularly blue and black are incredibly overwhelming colors. So if you were to stick your brush in the blue and then put it into your yellow, you could make a green with mostly yellow and only a tiny bit of blue. So if you think about like, well, green is halfway between blue and yellow, and you try to do 50-50 blue and yellow, you're gonna end up just with something that's almost blue and barely yellow. So first of all, never mix directly in here, because then you don't have any more yellow, and then you got to get more yellow out. Unless you're mixing with tiny little puddles and you're getting more every time, but I wouldn't. I would just scoop a little bit out. So I'm going to scoop a little bit of yellow out, and I'm going to put it here to mix. Like that, so that way I've still got yellow left. And then I'm going to clean my brush. And then I'm going to get out the smallest amount of blue that I can manage. Like I'm just gonna like dip my brush in it. And then I'm going to mix that over here with my yellow. So you can see how quickly the blue takes over. So what I have here is a pretty good yellow green. I would be happy with this for my yellow green. So I'd probably go ahead and use this for yellow green. If what you were looking for, however, was green, not yellow green, first of all, if you accidentally, let's say you're shooting for green and you make yellow green, you need yellow green, might as well just go ahead and do it while you have it. If you were trying to mix yellow green and you accidentally made green, you need green, you might as well use it while you have it. But let's say that maybe I've already painted my yellow green, so now I need to adjust it, make it a little bit more green. So let's say that in my head, I'm thinking, well, I added a little bit of blue and that wasn't enough, so now I'm gonna add a lot of blue. Because this is gonna happen to someone. You're gonna accidentally add too much blue. Let me just really go in here and add a lot of blue. Okay, so what happened here is that I way passed green, and I am now in blue-green territory. First of all, you need a blue-green, so if you haven't used blue-green and you accidentally mix blue-green, just use it. But if you really need a green and what you have is this, and this is not what we're going for. This is much more blue-green. What a lot of people will do is like, okay, well, I added too much blue, so I'm going to balance it out by adding yellow. you can keep adding yellow and keep adding yellow and keep adding yellow. It's very difficult to take it back once you've passed it. Once you've added too much blue, because blue is so strong, it's gonna take so much to use yellow to bring it back. And you don't need that much anyway. Once you finally get there, like this entire thing is gonna be full of green paint. You really don't need that. To save yourself the time and the effort, this is what you need to do. So you're gonna scoop out a little bit of your green that was too blue, put it in a new area, and then add a little bit of yellow to this to bring it back. So instead of adding a lot of yellow here, you can add a little yellow here. And you get something that is approaching green a little bit closer. I would still maybe go a teensy bit more yellow. Also, you're gonna do this at some point. You're gonna get green into your yellow, or you're gonna get purple into your red, because at some point you're gonna get tired of washing your brushes. That's why I always recommend starting out with a small amount of paint, because even if I ruin it, then I haven't wasted a ton of paint. Yeah, so that's a pretty good green right there. Especially when you compare it to this is what we originally had. So that's a pretty decent green. Okay, so if blue is a strong color, black is an even stronger color. So let's pull out a little bit of red over here. And then I'm gonna pull out some black to add in here. Okay, so I've got just like a little blob of black here on my brush. Okay, so what I have now is something that is so dark, you can barely tell that it's red anymore. You kind of can. It has kind of a maroon quality to it. That's also because this black has a blue cast to it, like it's slightly blue tinted. So when you mix it with yellow, it kind of makes like a poopy green. And when you mix it with red, it adds like a little bit of a blue to make sort of a purple. Not much we can do about it. That's just the paint itself. It has a little bit of a blue cast, so that'll kind of always happen. But yeah, this is probably way darker than you needed it to be. First of all, you can't add white to lighten it up. You can add white to make it more dull, because if you add white, you've already added black, so you're adding gray. So white is not going to like lighten it, like make it more red. The only way to do that is to add more red. Again, I would scoop some of your stuff that's too dark over here, get a little bit of this here, and then use that to brighten it up. You have something that is much more clearly dark red as opposed to like brownish purple. So I cannot show you how to mix every single color. Some of it is just you have to experiment and figure out yourself. I can tell you the colors used for that color though. So you should know this, you're in the 9th grade. But if you don't, yellow and blue make green. Therefore, they also make yellow green and blue green. Yellow green is gonna have a lot more yellow. It's gonna be more yellow tinted. Blue green is gonna have more blue. It's gonna be more blue tinted. Green is gonna be in the middle of those two. Same thing, red and blue make violet. So red and blue also make red violet and blue violet. You just use more red to make red violet, more blue to make blue violet. This is a common misconception. I see so many kids wasting their time mixing violet and then adding red to it. You definitely don't need to do that. You don't need to mix a violet and then add red to it to make red violet. It's the same colors. You just, if you were mixing violet, you might use closer to equal parts red and blue. If you were mixing red violet, you would use a ton of red and just add blue to it until you got the red violet that you were looking for. So definitely you don't have to mix the secondary color and then add more of the primary color to it. You can just make that color in the first place. And then lastly, yellow and red make orange. Therefore, they make yellow orange by adding more yellow and red orange by adding more red.